Hi, welcome back to Gaming for Gamers. So here we are, back in London. And the point of today's video, which I'm going to get to very quickly because it's not going to, well, I hope it's not going to take a very long time, is a more general point about something I've spoken about quite a few times on the channel in different videos about different games before, and it comes up all the time in gaming at the moment. And it's, what is the modern audience? And I've thought about this. I thought about it very many times when I've been watching YouTube or Twitter or whatever, and also when I've been making videos and talks about it. And it's obviously a thing that's quoted by lots of game devs, publishers, and in the media generally, where they change how a movie is going to be made, the characters, the gameplay, the way the characters look in things for the modern audience. And one thing I was thinking is, what is a modern audience? When they say that, what do they actually mean? Because every single person watching a movie or a TV series or playing a game in November 2024 is a modern audience. We're all living in the same period of time, and we're all watching or playing the games in the same space. So we're all a modern audience. So what does that even mean? So firstly, it's a very bogus phrase because it's ambiguous and it doesn't really mean what they say. What they actually mean is a young audience that's new to these things now. They don't mean a modern audience, because anyone, you can be 70, and if you're into gaming, and there's loads of people that are 70 plus who are into gaming, who understand everything about modern culture, who watch loads of up-to-date TV, and they would be a modern audience, but they don't count. So let's be clear, a modern audience isn't about modern looking, thinking people, and it's not about people who are currently playing games or currently watching any series of movies or any series on TV. It's about a certain age range for start. It's obvious that it's aimed at a certain age range. And it's seen sometimes with things like the Dragon Age of Veilguard, the age ranges from like 6 upwards to about 20. So that's the first thing. So the first thing that's a bit weird is it's aimed at not a modern audience but a young audience, and I think they should be much more specific when they say that, because that's obviously what they mean. And the first of two weird points about that is, number one, teenagers and kids nowadays, because of the way they're taught in school or uni, and because of social media especially, they're much more aware of what goes on around them. They're much more aware of what they need to say and do, what they shouldn't say and do. Doesn't mean they do. It doesn't mean they don't swear. It doesn't mean they don't have horrible views. It doesn't mean they don't do bad things. Of course they do, just like everybody in the last 100 and 200 years did. But they're aware much more of what goes on and what's going on in the world. So the idea that they need to force into games and movies and TV these characters as if these people don't understand is rather ridiculous. Because they do understand, of course they do. They have it taught to them in school, and they see it all the time online. So that's the first thing. It's not that they don't understand. They don't need it shoved down their throats because they know. So it's very strange. If you're making a game, let's just say game for sake of it now, a game for a modern audience, that audience already understands everything about wokeism and diversity. They don't need to be told. So that's the first weird point. And the second weird point is that the people that may not understand, and not because they're bigoted or racist or sexist, because they're older and they were brought up in a generation before these things were prominent. The people that do need to possibly understand some of that are older people. That's just by the nature of the way the world's changed. So they aim in games at the modern audience to push the message that the modern audience already understands. And like I said, by modern audience I mean young. But the people they need to be pushing the message at are older people. Not just men, women, older women often wouldn't understand diversity and the various ways these binary, everything they wouldn't understand. So it's not just about men or white men, but yeah, white men, older white men often don't understand, along with older anything, black men, black women, white women, because older people haven't been exposed to the same education system and the same social media content that the younger people have. So the people they need to be educating or explaining or showing if they want to do that, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but the people they need to be doing that to are an older audience who won't have been brought up with that, and yet they're making games aimed at the audience who already knows. It's like going into church and preaching about God or whatever you believe in a church or a mosque or synagogue, whatever, and you're preaching that to the converted because they already believe. It's to educate or make the people that don't believe understand. And if you want to do that, and like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, you need to be aiming at a different audience. And Dragon Age of Valgard, for example, would have been, I understand why it's a mess and I understand all that, but it would have been a really good way to do that, because you've got a game that's not been a new game in that franchise, hasn't been released for 10 years. It's got 3 previous games that all date back into the 2000s. So you've got an older audience who already know the game. It's much more likely that an older audience would have played a new Dragon Age game than a new audience who don't know anything about it, especially when they've seen it. So that was a perfect opportunity. You can make a game like Dragon Age of Valgard subtly, because it's it's not well written, but subtly, because it's well written, you can put in various characters and various diverse arguments subtly into the game, along with a really good game with really good gameplay, really good characters, blah blah blah, and it wouldn't have been as noticeable. It would have flowed with the game if they'd made the game slightly different. If they made the game darker, with darker themes like the first 3, again, it would have fitted with an older audience in the first 3 games. It would also have meant they could have integrated different things they wanted to in the games, and they would have got a message over, because they could easily have put a non-binary character in if they hadn't pushed it into such a ridiculous way, and they could have got a few other bits and pieces in if they wanted to. But instead, they've completely dumbed down the game for the modern audience, which is a new audience who already know about wokeism and feminism and diversity, and they've alienated all the people that may have played the game if it had been dark and the same tone as the original, who may have picked up something if it had been integrated into a good game. So it's absolutely counterproductive. They're just making games for people who already know this, and those people, again, don't necessarily play games, and to be honest, they don't want it shoved down their throat either. So a lot of young people, and I can vouch for this, a lot of young people really like anime, and anime can be very, let's just say, sexual in nature, and they're fine with that. It can be rude, it can be sexual, it can be quite shocking actually. I remember when I first saw some anime books in a shop in London when I went with one of my friends, and I was like, oh my god. So it can be quite an eye-opener. So modern audiences don't need to have baby content dumbed down. They understand like graphic sex scenes, they understand bad language. So it's a really weird thing. It's that people who've got no focus, who have one focus in mind about wokeism and modernism in games and movies and series, make stuff that they see in their own heads as being great for people that already know the message they're trying to push and probably won't play or watch those things anyway, without thinking, who do we really want to sell these games to, which is probably the first thing they should be thinking, and secondly, if we have a message, who do we want to try and explain some of these things to in the format of a game where it's integrated well into the game. I think I said before in a different video, a character like Parvati in Outer Worlds, who's a lesbian, and she's really well integrated to the point that you don't even think about that. I didn't even think about it at all actually in the game, and she's so well integrated that you don't think about it. So it can be done in a good game with a good character. And these people that make these games for modern audiences are basically high school kids with that kind of mentality, not just because of what they're making in the context of the content, but they're not thinking about making money. So they're high school kids making a high school project which doesn't need to sell, that's why it's a high school project, for other high school kids and maybe their younger brothers and sisters. And it's just all very weird. Anyway, that's my thought on modern audiences. I'm sure everyone's got other thoughts, and I'm sure if I think about it I've got more thoughts, but that's all I can put into this video. Anyway, thanks for watching Gaming for Gamers. Till next time, take care for now.